Joe Rogan has the best podcast, the biggest podcast, and now he's rejected perhaps one of his biggest potential guests. Welcome back to Fog Entertainment. It's time for this channel to broaden its horizons, talk about more topics outside of just movies and televisions. We've brought you a lot to do with the horrors of this business. But we're talking about Joe Rogan, a great guy, a guy that endorsed a certain DJT, and now Zelensky wanted to appear on his show. Zelensky wanted to appear on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Joe Rogan has turned around and simply said, no, not a chance, Buster. Why? Now the question is, why? Why would Joe Rogan turn this guy down? He's had other people on his show. Could it just simply be the fact that Zelensky would be on this show with Joe Rogan, and the entire topic of the however long the podcast is, like 90 minutes, 2 hours, it would literally just be talking about the war in Ukraine. Like with Trump, there was so many talking points. If Kamala went on Joe Rogan's podcast, there would have been so many talking points. When other people go on Joe Rogan's podcast, there's so many talking points. This guy, every time he rocks up to the United States of America, walks away with duffel bags full of cash. Maybe he thinks Joe Rogan's the guy that prints the money. I'm not too sure. But for me, I actually think Joe Rogan has made the correct decision. Now, Joe Rogan has rejected Ukraine president's offer to join him for a show on his podcast. So this isn't, Zelensky and obviously his representatives have put this offer forward, and they've had it rejected this way. Can I blame them? Can I blame Joe Rogan? No. So, Joe Rogan, the source, he was actually talking on his podcast the other day. He points out that he got a hard no. He says, and I quote, "They tried to get Zelensky on. I was like, what are you talking about?" It's kind of funny that they actually tried to get him on. Some people are commenting saying it's a spineless move by Rogan. He has no qualms in fighting people who justify Russians' invasion. He's afraid of hearing the other side. Could it just be that he sees straight through Zelensky and doesn't literally want to just hear a guy pander and beg for money for 2.5 hours? I mean, it could be that. He doesn't really elaborate on the reason why he doesn't want Zelensky. Here, maybe Zelensky used to be a comedian. Maybe it could have been a funny podcast. But it is weird because we haven't really seen Joe Rogan turn down people in the past. Could this be due to a new affiliation with the Republicans and Trump and Kennedy and all that? Could it be? And he doesn't want to associate himself with people on the left? It might be, but I don't think Joe Rogan's like that. I think he's willing to listen to a lot of opinions, but for whatever reason he didn't want Zelensky. Maybe there was terms that he just simply couldn't agree to. Maybe he would have to pay Zelensky XY amount of money, I don't know, $10 billion and about 10 warheads just to get him on the show. And Joe Rogan's went, well, you know what, actually, that's just not worth it, my friend. And then in that case, you can definitely see why Joe Rogan would not want Zelensky on the podcast. It's kind of funny. But anyway, guys, Joe Rogan, he rejects Zelensky. We'll be back with more content here on Fog Entertainment. Leave your thoughts down below. That's a bit of news of the day. And aye, peace.